Imagine falling from the sky. Not skydiving, not bungee jumping. No parachute, no plan, no safety net. Just falling. From 33,330 feet, over 6 miles in the air. And then surviving. This is a story of Vesna Vulović, a 22-year-old flight attendant who fell from an exploding aircraft and lived to talk about it. On January 26, 1972, JAT Flight 367 took off from Copenhagen, headed towards Zagreb, with its final destination in Belgrade. 28 people were on board that day. Vesna Vulović was one of the flight attendants. But here's the twist. She wasn't originally scheduled to be on that flight. Due to a scheduling error, her name was mistakenly added to the crew roster. She had the same or similar name as another attendant. She didn't volunteer, she didn't trade shifts. It was simply an airline mix-up. And because she was new and excited to fly, she showed up and boarded. The flight had already completed one leg from Stockholm to Copenhagen. The next stretch, Copenhagen to Zagreb, which was short and routine. The aircraft, a McDonnell Douglas DC-9, reliable, commercial, nothing unusual. And the passengers were just regular travelers, business people, families, students. And for the first 45 minutes, everything was normal. Until it wasn't. At 4:01 p.m. over Czechoslovakia airspace, the aircraft suddenly and violently exploded. No warning, no distress signal. The cabin depressurized instantly. The fuselage broke apart mid-air. Passengers and crew were thrown out into the atmosphere. And Vesna, who was unconscious at the time, was pinned inside the tail section by a food cart. That section detached cleanly from the plane and began to fall. The tail section fell for approximately 3 minutes, over 33,000 feet straight down. No parachute, no glide path, just a hunk of aircraft and a catastrophic descent. But what happened next doesn't follow the rules. That tail section struck a heavily wooded hillside, covered in thick snow, near the village of Sberska Kamenice, in what is now the Czech Republic. The trees and snow absorbed part of the impact. The angle of the crash unbelievably helped, and somehow Vesna survived. The explosion had been heard by people in the village. Among them, Bruno Honke, a local villager, and crucially, a former combat medic from World War II. He raced toward the crash site, and there, among the wreckage and devastation, he found Vesna. Her legs were broken, her skull fractured, her spine crushed, but she was still alive and breathing. He administered emergency care until rescuers arrived. And without him, she may have not lasted another hour. Vesna was taken to a hospital and placed in intensive care. She remained in coma for 27 days, and when she woke up, she remembered nothing of the crash. Her last memory was boarding the plane in Copenhagen, and her next was waking up in a hospital bed. Her injuries were catastrophic: fractured skull, 2 broken legs, 3 crushed vertebrae, and several internal injuries. But she was alive, and slowly she began to recover. The world quickly took notice. Her story spread through Europe and beyond. She was officially recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records for the highest fall survived without a parachute, 33,330 feet. But while headlines focused on her survival, investigators focused on why the plane exploded. The conclusion? A bomb, likely hidden in the baggage compartment. Investigators believed it was the work of Croatian ultranationalists, but no group ever claimed responsibility. No one was arrested, and the case remains unsolved. Years later, alternative theories emerged. Some suggested the aircraft was accidentally shot down by the Czechoslovak military. Others speculated about state involvement. Vesna never engaged in the conspiracy theories. She just focused on healing, physically and emotionally. Vesna would never fly again, not because of fear. She said she still loved flying, but she felt it would be wrong, and so many of her colleagues didn't survive. She returned to work at JAT in a desk role, handling administrative tasks. No headlines, no attention. She preferred it that way, but she would become known, not just for surviving, but for how she carried herself afterward. In the 1990s, as Yugoslavia began to collapse, Vesna took a stand. She spoke out against nationalism, and she paid for it. She was fired from her airline job, but she remained outspoken. She believed in peace and human dignity, and in the idea that survival was not enough. You had to live with a purpose. Vesna never married. She lived quietly. She rarely gave interviews, but when she did, she was clear. She did not consider herself lucky. She did not consider herself a hero. She once said, "The others died. I survived. That's not luck. That's just how it was." She lived with chronic pain for the rest of her life, but also with strength few could understand. She died in 2016 at the age of 66, in her apartment, peacefully, in her sleep. The odds of surviving a fall from 33,000 feet are basically zero. There is no training for it, no manual, no explanation. But Vesna Vulović survived because of timing, because of snow, because of a forest, because of one man who found her. Because sometimes the impossible happens quietly. 33,000 feet, no parachute, one survivor. Seriously, that happened.